In the early 2000s, the deep diving crankbait was the most dominant fishing lure in pro bass fishing. However, since the introduction of forward-facing sonar, you don't see it being thrown all that much anymore. Has the deep diving crankbait lost its effectiveness? I don't think so, and I want to show you a new way that I'm utilizing deep diving crankbaits with forward-facing sonar to catch a pile of good fish this summer. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so we're here on Beaver Lake today and I'm graphing for a school of fish that I can catch on the deep diving crankbaits. Right now I'm on the edge of a main creek channel ledge. You can see this creek channel is running right here basically. I have a bunch of stuff marked from past trips, and actually there are a few fish just popped up on the screen as I'm showing that off. Not a bunch of fish, but just a couple. And then there's a few more right there that actually just popped on the screen. Look at that right there. Those are probably crankbait fish. Maybe. I was not expecting to find fish this fast, to be honest. I turned the camera on and I was like, oh, maybe I'll see something here as I'm talking. Looks like there's a few fish here. If I switch over to my combo view, I don't think they're very big though. We'll probably just keep moving. But as you can see that there's a few fish right here and then a few fish right here. Definitely fish that we could catch 100%, but they don't look very big. If you kind of compare the 2D sonar and the down imaging, the 2D sonar shows those fish are kind of small. Those arches are really tiny. Those are probably really small spotted bass. I'm gonna mark it just in case, because if we need to come back, we can, but I think we'll find something better here. But anyways, there's those fish. They're stacked up right there on that drop. Boom, 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 boom. Really nice actually, positioning right in that 17 foot. That actually looks not too bad, to be honest. Before we get too crazy, I'll show you on the chart where we're at. Basically, there's a big flat where the blue area is, the white area is the main creek channel, and there's just a really hard drop off between the two of these. So that's what we're fishing right now, or trying to graph at least. And I'm just gonna keep graphing here. There's a few more little stretches in here I've marked in the past that have historically held fish. A lot of these spots I'm showing you guys are spots I've caught fish in the past. You can see I have old waypoints, super old waypoints on here. So it's not like I haven't caught fish off these spots before, but trying to find a group of fish that's sitting really tight to the bottom, because that's really the best group of fish for a crankbait. The first little group we actually graphed, though they're not very big, they do look like they're set up decently for the crankbait. But I want to keep graphing just for a second. I'm going to kind of make a couple passes down here to see if we can find some fish. One thing about graphing ledges is that, as you can see, there's that hard drop off on the 2D sonar. You can see that ledge. It's like a legit ledge. And that's what we're basically trying to find, is a spot where those fish are setting up right on the lip of that drop off, right in, if we pause this, kind of right in here, right before it drops off hard. And that's kind of what we're looking for. I think we may have actually found it a second ago when we graphed that, but let me just graph around a little bit more. I don't like to stop and fish, guys, until I'm like 100% sure I found a group of fish that's one, decent size, at least big enough where there might be some like 2-pounders out here on Beaver, and also want to make sure that they're set up for what I'm trying to do. Because if I can catch them on a crankbait, I know I can usually catch some pretty decent fish. That's kind of why I'm hunting out that crankbait bite. We're gonna graph here. You can see that side imaging screen. It's like black on the right side, which is the edge of that drop, and then it's brighter on the left side with some junk and stuff over there. There's bait and stuff in this area too. Looks really, really good with all that bait there. Look at that on the down imaging and on the side imaging. The thing about it though is that we're not seeing any fish around that, so we're gonna kind of keep moving over. But you see all that bait, and you can see that this ledge has a ton of good stuff. There's rock and wood and everything out here. But when I'm graphing ledges, I don't really care so much about what type of cover is out there or anything like that. I really just want to see fish, because that's what you're going to really get in a hurry quick with, is like a group of fish. So we're gonna regraph this little group we found here a second ago. It's funny, these waypoints I'm driving over like waypoint 200, now I'm on waypoint 1500. Just added a few waypoints over the years. I'm not seeing that crazy group again. I saw a second ago. I mean, there's a fish. Oh, there they are. They're so tight to the bottom. That's crazy. These are perfect crankbait fish. Look at this, guys. You can barely see them. Okay, this is cool. So all of these are fish right in through here. You can barely see them. They're not even visible on the 2D sonar, but those are all fish. They're stacked up, I mean, on the bottom, right on the bottom. If we go over to our full screen view of this, I mean, you would never really see those fish unless you looked in your 2D really carefully. Right in there, those are all fish. They are just dead to the bottom. So there may be better quality fish down there than I thought. When I first graphed over this, I was kind of like, not that big of a deal, but those fish are stacked tight down there. Now we're also coming up on another little deal with, wow, there's more fish here too on the other side of the drop. Now that, okay, this is what I'm expecting to see. We got another little deal. Okay, this is exactly what I wanted to see. Our fish that are right on that channel edge. I don't know how I missed these fish. That's why sometimes you kind of have to regraph stuff a few times, guys. That's why I didn't just start fishing right away, because this is ideal. Like ideal crankbait, 20 feet of water. I'm gonna be able to hit him with a 6XD, 10XD. There's fish and bait right in here, super clean. There's bigger arches in here than the first spot we saw. We can see a bigger arch there, a bigger arch there, another bigger arch there. This is the juice right here. So we're gonna mark that right there. Wind is blowing right now directly into the boat, so I'm actually going to spin around. I'll pull up my chart view. We got that waypoint right here, was that 1548, and then we got that 1545 and 46. So there's fish on both sides of this little drain that cuts in. There's a drain that cuts in right here, and there's fish on both corners of it, which is crazy. They're like stacked up. But because the wind's blowing from the north as the screen is going, so it's blowing this direction, I want to fish this first school so that when I'm fishing, if I catch a fish, I can spot lock into the wind. So I'm going to kind of work my boat around and start on this first group, even though I don't think there are as many fish or they're not as big. And that way I can maintain really good boat positioning. That's always really critical, guys, when you're fishing offshore. Don't just, when you see a school of fish, stop and drop the trolling motor, because very likely you're gonna get blown on top of that school of fish. You're gonna disturb them. So it doesn't really bother the fish that much when you're actually graphing over them. Like I can graph over these fish and catch them right away. What bothers them more is when you stop the engine, drop the trolling motor right next to them. I find that that messes those fish up so bad. So instead of doing that, I have a range ring set on my boat here. Now I'm gonna work past these fish and I'm going to turn my boat, point it into the wind that direction, and then kind of get on the other side of this deal so that I'm outside of those range rings, which are set at 150 feet around my boat. We're gonna kind of spin this around. Now we're in good position where I can actually get to these fish. So I kind of went a roundabout way to get over here, but now I can kill my engine. I'm far enough away, I'm not gonna be bothering them. We're gonna get to catching. Okay, we're up by this drop. I'm gonna start by throwing a Strike King 6XD deep diving crankbait. This is my favorite deep diving crankbait of all time. And actually got the Livescope pulled out here because I wanna find those fish on the lip of that drop. You can actually see them right there at 20 feet, dead on the bottom. I'm staying about 50 feet away from these fish, a little bit closer than normal, because you need to be able to get your crankbait to depth before you actually hit those fish. That's one thing that is a common mistake with crankbait anglers, that new crankbait anglers make. Oh, there's one, got him. First cast. Is that they try to position themselves too far away from the fish, but you got to give that bait a chance to actually get down to depth. And not a big one, just a little guy here. I thought that these guys looked kind of small. Woo, that was kind of sketchy. Just a little spotted bass. As we saw on the 2D sonar, those fish looked really small. So I had a feeling they were going to be little fish. I think the group on the other side is a lot better, but they're positioned perfectly. If we scroll back over here on the Livescope, you can barely see them, but there's just a few little dots just dotted up on the bottom. And those fish, oh, one's about to eat it. Come on, come on. Working it like a jerkbait. Eat it. Nope. Oh, got him. There we go. Oh, come on. He came off. Dang it. Okay, those fish are down there, though. You can see them. He followed it all the way off the ledge. They're down there really deep, though, like 20, 25 feet almost. I almost need a little bit deeper diving crankbait. I can barely reach those fish with my crankbait. There's a little better wad of them. But they're down there very deep in the water column. I had a video I made where I was catching them on a tush and the spunk shad, and those fish were suspended up in the water column. But when these fish are down on the bottom, like you see on the graph, and they're right on the lip of that ledge, deep diving crankbait is the best way to get them to bite, to trigger those fish. There, down there. Come on, eat it. I'm all in them right now. Got him. There he is. Got that bait. You can see I got close to those fish. I love actually watching these fish on scope with the crankbait. Oh, two fish at once, two fish at once. Come on, fish, stay on both of you. Both of them, there we go. Oh, yes, stay on. Oh, this fish is out the side. Oh, that's a good largemouth. Woohoo! Two fish, one cast. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh. That's actually a pretty good largemouth for beaver, to be honest, too. Dang, spotted bass on this hand, largemouth on the other. Let's go, boys. That is freaking awesome. Oh, there we go, guys. Solid 2-pound largemouth. That's a really good one for beaver. A little spotted bass, but two fish, one cast. Let's get back down there. That's crazy. Got those fish on that Strike King 6XD crankbait. My hooks is actually kind of bent. Gotta check that. I actually change out my stock treble hooks on my 6XD guys with these Gamakatsu EWGs. They're the size 2 EWG, and I find that they really stick these fish a lot better. And it was cool on that last cast because you saw right where those fish were on that drop. And it backs up a little bit. We're kind of getting a little bit close, but you could see those fish on that drop. And what I basically did was got my bait down in where those fish were. Again, staying about 50 feet away from them so I can get my bait down into the strike zone. I crank as fast as I can to get that bait down to depth. I'm using a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel, so it's not as hard to crank. As soon as I get my bait down in where I think those fish are, I kind of will burn it and pause it. Do a little like kind of twitch, like a jerk bait at times. Those fish are suspending right now, right in front of that drop. And that last little deal there, I got those fish to react because I paused the bait. And that's a little trick, guys, that a lot of guys don't do with the crankbait. They just will sit there and grind, and I'm always stopping and pausing my bait. I actually catch so many fish now. I think more fish because of the Livescope with a deep diving crankbait. Everyone thinks, is the deep diving crankbait a dead technique? Can you not catch them anymore? You know, Van Dam used to dominate, but now with Livescope, you can't really use it to catch fish. Well, obviously that's not the case. It freaking works. And I think it's even more effective than ever because, I mean, there's fish on my bait right now. You can toy with them, you can work it, you can twitch it like a jerk bait, and you're not always gonna get those fish to bite, but it allows you to kind of manipulate those fish a little bit more. Obviously, you can catch these fish without Livescope too. I mean, done that for years, but it's a very, very cool way of doing it because you can, I feel like, get a few extra bites. Now, I got a couple of those fish to bite. Now they've kind of slowed down on it. Oh, he hammered that. Dang it. I watched him eat it too. How did he not get that? He smacked. Oh, wow. Look at all those fish off that ledge. They're all coming up to get it. Get it. Got him. Oh, man, that was cool. Following him off the ledge to come get it. Oh, there's like 6 with it. Oh, my gosh. Good largemouth. See, that's the power of the crankbait with the Livescope, guys. I literally caught that fish like I was throwing a jerk bait. And I think that that's something that so many guys overlook with that crankbait deal and the Livescope. You can draw those fish in. I catch a lot of fish cranking with the scope. So the scope and the crankbait, powerhouse, and it is not a dead technique by any means, guys. It is just as good as ever. You just kind of have to use it the right way. You can catch some good ones doing it. Oh, fish? Yeah, got one. Pausing it, stopping it. I mean, this is another decent fish. Not a big one, but whoa, come on, fish. They're kind of getting all over it, but we're catching them, so we're gonna keep firing. It's crazy. We have a whole nother school, guys, on the other side. Oh, I freaking love crankbait fishing, dude. This is so fun. Again, I'm burning that deal. I'm throwing this bait on a 7'6" medium heavy power, moderate action crankbait rod from Denali in the Covert lineup, and pairing that with 12-pound Sunline, FC Sniper fluorocarbon, and that 5-to-1 gear ratio Abu Garcia winch reel. And I like that 5-to-1 even though I'm burning the crankbait, because it doesn't cause your arms to hurt as much and your wrists and stuff like that after doing it like all day. You kind of get used to it after a bit. If you crank enough, you kind of just, that goes away, but it definitely does make it easier with that 5-to-1 gear ratio reel. And so you just kind of burn that thing down there and then kill it and then reel it, and that can just really get them fired up. Even give it like some random twitches like that and freaking gets it. Look at that, jerk baiting them with the crankbait and they get it. Oh, stay on there, fish. There we go. Okay, that's awesome, guys. There's obviously a few decent ones in this school because I caught a good one when we doubled up. So I want to kind of keep firing. I also want to fire a little bit bigger crankbaits. So that's on the 6XD. I've got the 10XD. Let me throw that down there. Okay, so we're coming up to the second little ledge deal where we saw a bunch of fish, and I think I can see them down there. There's a little bit of brush there. I want to see the fish stacked up like on that last spot if I can. I'm not seeing them in this exact moment. There they are. Okay, so there's some brush right in front of that, but there's fish stacked up right there, right at 80 feet. There's a freaking pile of them right there. Just dotted up right there. Oh yeah. Fire that thing out there. They're a little bit deeper actually. I may have to go to the 10XD, but they are suspended up. These are honestly look like fish I can catch on that tush. Let's see if we can catch one on a crankbait too. Oh, they're all behind it. Come on. They're not big enough. Eat that. Let's try one more cast, and then we're gonna throw the tush down on them because these might be tush fish rather than crankbait fish. If these fish were just a little bit shallower, like right now they're sitting in 22 feet of water. If they were in like 23 feet of water, they're just a little bit shallower. You can catch them on that 6XD. This 10XD I think is just, oh, nope. Come on, eat it. Oh, there he is. Okay, never mind. I actually got one. Look at them all come up after that. Holy crap. They're all coming off the bottom. There's so many fish down there. Oh, it's a big one. Oh, okay, maybe the 10XD is the, oh, he popped off. Oh, that was a 4.5 pounder, dude. Holy crap. He popped off on the 10XD. No way. Oh. Okay, so I actually changed up crankbaits here, guys. This is the OSP Blitz Magnum. Gets slightly deeper than that 10XD. And, ooh, I think I hit something back there. Oops. Also, weighs a lot. Gotta really whip it. I think I hit something with the hook. But that thing will get a little bit deeper than the 10XD because these fish are pretty deep. And I want to see if maybe, there we go, that gets one. First cast. This would be a big one. That Blitz Magnum's a big crankbait too. And it gets just a little bit deeper than that 10XD. Sometimes it's good to just change up crankbaits. Don't know if this is a real big one. Ah, no, just a little guy. But, I mean, it's a really nice fish, good one. Got him in the back of the head, but there we go. First cast, had to get a crankbait that went just a tiny bit deeper. This bait is literally a 30-foot diving crankbait on like 12-pound test. I throw it on like 16 because it also costs $30 and I don't want to lose it, but I'll link them in the description. This is like my other new favorite crankbait. I love this thing. And there we go, got him. It catches them like crazy too. It's interesting because they're eating this, the little ones even are eating this when they won't eat the 10XD, but the body size is almost the same. It may have just been that I wasn't getting deep enough with the 10XD on this school. Ooh. Got him. Feels like another good one. Yeah, feels like a good one. Don't know what I got. Swimming kind of at me. When he pulled once, he felt good. Oh, good one. There we go. It's a really nice one. If we had this one plus that first double fish and then that 4, we'd have a freaking bag right now on beaver. I am telling you guys, that is a good fish. I mean, that is a solid fish on beaver. That's a 2-pounder, which is not the easiest fish to come by out here. Talked about it before, but like you can get 5 fish like that and that 4-pounder I had, you're like top 10 every tournament. So, man, I probably should have just been throwing this crankbait from the beginning because it has newer hooks on it and everything, but that's what you get for not changing out hook, guys. If you're lazy and don't change out your hooks, you're gonna end up missing fish on these crankbaits. So learn your lesson from that. I was just being lazy because I was just tying on different baits and things like that, and it cost me a 4-pounder. So if you're a tournament guy or just want to make sure you catch every fish and don't lose 4-pounders, change out those treble hooks on your baits. It can make a big difference. And then once you break up those fish, guys, with the crankbait, I do like to come back behind them a lot of times with a different bait. That spunk shad and the tush is my #1 kind of cleanup bait also, because these fish will get kind of scattered and they'll be high up in the water column more so than when you first catch them. And so you can throw this tush down there, and the way I do it is basically just let that thing sink down there for about 10 seconds and I just hop it, and you can get a few extra fish doing this. Just kind of as cleanup fish, help fill out your limit, whatever you need. You can keep running schools too, obviously, if you can find more, but if you want to try to just maximize the spots, you can do this and see if we can get one to actually come up and eat, but usually it works out pretty well. Got him. There we go. Yep. Said you can just clean up with the tush and the spunk shad when those fish kind of get broken up. Oh, that's a freaking good one. We're gonna have a bag in this video, boys. Golly, that's a good one. There we go. Big Beaver Lake fish. My goodness. The spot's got him, guys. If you saw on that 2D sonar, we saw bigger arches here than the first spot. And that is what you get when you find that. Solid 3-pounders right there. That core tackle tush and the spunk shad. Cleanup rig, absolutely getting her done. That's what I'm talking about. Beautiful fish right there. Well, guys, that was awesome. We found 2 really nice schools of fish close together that were biting the deep diving crankbait. Caught that first double and fished the first spot mainly with that Strike King 6XD on a 7'6", medium heavy power, moderate action Denali covert light crankbait rod with 12-pound Sunline FC Sniper fluorocarbon and that Abu Garcia winch reel. It's a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel. Then we moved over to the next spot and I lost that really big fish, like a 4.5-pounder on that Strike King 10XD crankbait. Had some older hooks on here that aren't as sharp as they need to be, so that was my bad on that, unfortunately. But that 10XD will get down about 25 feet of water on 12-pound test. This one gets about 21 feet on 16-pound test, which was what I was throwing here, 16-pound fluorocarbon. And that's just because these baits are heavy and I'm fishing around brush and rocks and I just don't want to break them off. But I also caught a few more fish on that OSP Blitz Magnum. This bait will get down 25 feet for sure, and you can see that bill was grinding the bottom there. It's a brand new crankbait I pulled out, and it's grinding the bottom 25 feet on 16-pound fluorocarbon. So a great deal there. Throwing that on a 7'10", extra heavy, moderate action Magnum crankbait rod in the Denali Lithium Pro lineup. Love this crankbait rod for the big crankbaits. It works super well. Barely lose any fish. I only lost 1 today on any of the baits. It was unfortunately the biggest one, and it was again just because of those dull hooks. Make sure you change out those treble hooks, guys. I prefer to use lighter wire hooks in general on my crankbaits. These are actually heavier wire hooks than I normally throw, just because you have a parabolic bend in that rod and you're fishing pretty deep and far away from the boat, so those super heavy duty hooks aren't always the best. So try to stay away from those. I'm going to change these hooks out immediately when I get back to the house on this deal, but was able to put more fish in the boat, and then at the very end there I was able to catch a couple more cleanup fish, including a really nice 3-pounder on that core tackle 4/0 3/8 ounce tush hook with the Hog Farmer spunk shad. Did a whole video about this deal. Awesome little technique when those fish are suspended on those ledges, and it caught a really nice fish here at the end. So really cool deal. Definitely need to be throwing crankbaits, guys. I feel like I actually am underutilizing crankbaits, and in my last few fishing trips, this Blitz Magnum actually and that 10XD have accounted for all of my 4+ pound bites out here on beaver. It's interesting because all of the big bites are coming on that big crankbait, and I just think that it's because guys aren't throwing crankbaits that much anymore with the introduction of all the Damiki stuff, all of this sort of deal. And I feel like those baits work pretty well, but historically my top baits have always been a jig and a crankbait. A jig hasn't been as effective for me this year for whatever reason. I'm gonna go do a whole day where I just go throw a jig just to maybe build some confidence back up in it, but definitely a crankbait has been a big player for me this year, and I feel like it's going to continue through the fall and into the winter by using the forward-facing sonar in combination with a crankbait, like I showed in this video a little bit, and just normal crankbait fishing. So if you guys enjoyed this video and learned something, make sure you leave a comment down below letting me know if you found something helpful and what your favorite tip was. Let me know about this new video format. I'm trying to upload more videos. Go out, find a bunch of groups of fish, and just catch a few fish here and there rather than worrying so much about making these long, story-driven videos. I just want to get to the point, show you where the fish are, show me catching a bunch of fish, and hopefully that's being helpful for you guys. So thanks again for checking out this video. See you all next one.